First, maybe it is logical to talk a bit about definition. Really, we should name it formally non-recognized and partly recognized states, because some of states which you usually call non-recognized, they are non-recognized at all by any country. For example, Nagorno-Karabakh Republic. Some of them are recognized by some other countries. For example, Abkhazia or South Ossetia, they are recognized by Russia and some other exotic states. For example, Taiwan is recognized approximately by about 30 states in the world. Or, for example, Turkish Republic of Northern Cyprus is recognized by Turkey, just one country, but it is recognized. So, but I would call it, to be shorter, non-recognized states, okay? So this phenomenon, they are about 50 all around the world. You have different types of non-recognized states. Some of them are recognized, some not. You have states which are not very, I would say, functional, as for example, Somaliland, or Ichkeria, Chechen Republic of Ichkeria, which formal by supporters exist, but in reality is just they named by this republic just paramilitary groups. So they are different. About definition. Definition is you don't have really legal definition of non-recognized states. States can recognize each other. Some states recognize other states, but you don't have a legal procedure of recognizing the states by international community. For example, United Nations, they cannot recognize states. State can be recognized by another state. You can have chaired as a state in United States, or you not. But for example, till 2000, Switzerland was not member of United Nations. They didn't have chair there. Vatican didn't have chair there, but nobody called Vatican or Switzerland non-recognized states. Some states are recognized by some states and not recognized by others. For example, by some reasons, I'm not very sure what reasons, maybe Muslim solidarity or something like that, my country, Armenia, is not recognized by Pakistan. Are we recognized state or not? Israel is not recognized by most of Arabic states. Are they recognized or not? Some non-recognized states are recognized by other non-recognized states. Are they recognized or not? Some of non-recognized states, they are really exist, so they are functioning, they have government, they have control on territory, sometimes they have constitution, elections, Nagorno-Karabakh, for example. But they are not recognized by others. You have some recognized states in the world which are not very functional. They don't control their territory. For example, Somalia, it is a recognized state. They have their chair in United Nations in New York. But really, in reality, on the ground, the government of Somalia, recognized government of Somalia, controls just some parts of Mogadishu, of the capital of the country. But this is recognized state. Afghanistan is recognized state. Taiwan is not. Kosovo is recognized by more than 100 countries, majority of countries of the world. But they call it, from time to time, especially they call it in Russia, Kosovo, non-recognized state, because they don't have chair in UN, and because two of huge countries, very important countries, Russia and China, don't recognize them. So usually when we talk about recognized or non-recognized states, the definition is political, not legal. You don't have legal procedure. You don't know really how to become from non-recognized state to recognized state. Is it, I don't know, 10 states recognize you enough to become recognized, or 20, or 40, or 60, or 100? Nothing at all. You don't have legal procedure. Before, I would say, establishing of international law as it is, you can say from 17th century Westphal, or you can say from 1918 from League of Nations. You didn't have such kind of problem. There was not international community, and it was not a necessity to recognize each other. Did Ethiopia, which was independent state that time, recognize China, which was independent state that time in 17th century? I'm not sure that they did know about each other. It was not even not a necessity, a possibility for that. For what? States were recognized by neighboring states. After building of international system, after coming to modernity, situation becomes like that. You have mechanism of recognizing states by each other, not just with your neighbors, but all over the world. So you have problems with definition. Sometimes states recognized another states, but not in their borders, which they really control. For example, Georgia is recognized by majority of the world nations, but Georgia is recognized with Abkhazia and South Ossetia, which in reality on the ground is not part. They don't control Georgian Tbilisi authority. They don't control. They don't control the territory of these breakout regions. For example, all Western countries, they recognize, not just Western, they recognized Russia as a state, sure. But they don't recognize that Crimea is part of Russian Federation. So they recognize Russia partly. What was the biggest non-recognized state in a history? The answer is China. From 1949 till 1971, in UN, you had a representative of China, and he or she was from Taiwan. Taiwan was China at that time. And China, the People's Republic of China, was non-recognized state. In 71, it changed, And now China has a chair in UN, so China is a recognized state, and Taiwan is not. So you have a lot of types, different types of non-recognized states. You have very big recognized states, non-recognized states like Taiwan. Taiwan is about 3 times bigger than Austria, for example, by population. And you have, for example, South Ossetia, which population is about 40, 50,000 people. Very little country. But both Taiwan and South Ossetia, they control their territory. And some of them are recognized by each other. For example, South Ossetia or South Ossetia is recognized by Abkhazia and by Transnistria. So they can recognize each other, but they are not recognized by other states. So definition is not very clear, and I maybe will stop with definition here, because you should understand that usually recognizing or not recognizing a state is political decision by political reasons in concrete political situation. For example, Russian Federation recognized 2 non-recognized states in post-Soviet territory. I mean Abkhazia and South Ossetia. And this was the result of Russian-Georgian War of 2008. After that, it was a way from Russia to show, or maybe even I can use the word, to punish Georgia, recognizing breakdown regions as independent states. And they are recognized till the moment. You have embassies, you have the Russian ambassador in Skhin Valley and Sukhumi. They call it Skhinval and Sukhum. Skhin Valley and Sukhumi are Georgian names of the capitals. And they have Abkhazia and South Ossetia, they have their ambassadors in Moscow, etc. So they are recognized. But other non-recognized states of former Soviet Union, I mean Transnistria and Nagorno-Karabakh, are not recognized by Russia. Situation is the same, but because reason is not legal, it's political. You can see difference of Russian relationships with Moldova or with Azerbaijan from one side and with Georgia from another side. Now, maybe it's reasonable to say a couple of words about the genesis of non-recognized states. And here I listened that Dr. Makedonov talked a bit about situation now on the ground with Abkhazia, maybe others as well. But I would begin from the history. About 100 years ago, when Russian Empire collapsed, you had, after First World War, you had a phenomenon of collapsing of empires. Ottoman Empire was collapsed, Austro-Hungarian Empire was collapsed, and Russian Empire was collapsed. But afterwards, you didn't have Ottoman Empire or Austro-Hungarian Empire. But Russian Empire preserved. Maybe Dr. Markinov is not maybe, I know that he wouldn't agree with me, but I think that Soviet Union was one of the forms of developing of Russian Empire. On the same territory, with same language, with same nations or peoples on that territory, with same legacy, etc. So they managed to restore the state empire on the same, more or less same territory of former Russian Empire. But the instrument of establishing such kind of state was autonomism. By the way, that time, I mean Bolsheviks, they even called it Austrian model. They meant not model of Austro-Hungarian Empire, but not model of Austrian communists of that time. To have a state with cultural, ethnic, autonomous regions inside the state. It is very interesting that even naming is very important. Union of Soviet Socialist Republics. Not even single, nothing about Russia. This is not Russia. This is Union of Soviet Socialist Republics. Officially. In reality, everybody called it Russia, sure. Soviet Union, they called Russia in the West, everywhere. But formally, it was new type of building of state, not like a nation state, but of union of different states, because officially they were states, officially in Soviet constitutions. So why it was done like that? Because it was a way in time of civil war to bring to their camp, to Bolsheviks' camp, ethnic minorities, non-Russian minorities of Russian Empire. They did it. They said, everybody, we will give you everything you want. State symbols, language, okay. If you don't have language, nominal language which is developed, we will develop it for you. Literature, sometimes even legal system in some Muslim regions of Soviet Union. You have Sharia courts till late 20s, 1920s. We will give you everything. We will give you autonomy. We will give you even independence if you would want that. And they showed it by agreeing to independence of Finland. In 1917, it was just 1 month after the revolution in St. Petersburg. So the way to bring non-Russians of Russian Empire, and they were about a bit more than 50% of population, to the camp of lefts, Bolsheviks, how to call it, was that to give autonomies, national autonomies, to all these nations. They called it Koreanization. It was a name for that that kind of politics. They managed. They postponed. They preserved the state, but the form of state was new, because in Russian Empire you didn't have ethnic units. You have so-called gubernias, how to call it, regions. And usually the name of this or that gubernia was by the name of capital of this gubernia. Kiev gubernia, Tiflis, Tbilisi gubernia, etc. Not Georgian, not Ukrainian, nothing like that. They were just territorial units with the capital in this or that city. When they established Soviet Union, they changed the model. That, by the way, it was a couple of exclusions. You had Царство Польское, Kingdom of Poland. The king of Poland was the same Russian emperor, but it was king. You should know it from Austrian history. They have Finland. That's it. All others, and Poland and Finland, by the way, were just two parts of Russian Empire which had independence from beginning, immediately after collapse of Russian Empire. And they, even after World War II, they include to Soviet Union parts of Russian Empire which were outside of Soviet Union. Moldova, Bessarabia, which is Moldova now, Western Ukraine, Western Belarus, and Baltic states, but not Poland and Switzerland. Finland, which were ethnic units in time of Russian Empire. All others were just territorial units, administrative regions. After establishment of Soviet Union, finally, you had 15 states. They call them states, Soviet Socialist Republics. There were 15. For example, Ukraine or Georgia or Armenia or, I don't know, Belarus, etc. But in Soviet Union, you had kind of strange system of, they call it usually a Russian doll system or matryoshka system, when you have one administrative territory inside another. In reality, you have 5 levels. First level was USSR. It was a state, it was real state. Everybody had a Soviet passport in his pocket, or her. And this was country which was inside, it had other, let us call it autonomous. Second level was Soviet Socialist Republics. I said to you about that. You had 15. Russia, Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, Belarus, Ukraine, Moldova, Armenia, Georgia, Azerbaijan, Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan, Tajikistan, Kyrgyzstan, and Turkmenistan. 15. Inside some of Soviet Socialist Republic, you had autonomous republics. There were more, but for example, as Abkhazian, Soviet autonomous Soviet Socialist Republic, Tatarstan Autonomous Republic, or Bashkortostan, Bashkiria Republic. Inside the Soviet Socialist Republic, this is third level, you could have so-called how to say autonomous oblast, autonomous province. Usually they write in English oblast. Like, for example, Adygea or Nagorno-Karabakh, or even they had German autonomous oblast on the Volga River when you have Russian Germans living there. And then you had autonomous okrug. Okrug is Russian, autonomous district. And for example, you have, till the moment, by the way, they have in Russia, Chukcha Autonomous District, or Komi-Permak Autonomous District. Chukcha and Komi-Permak are names of Russian ethnic groups. Every type of this autonomous, they are different legal status. For example, for autonomous oblast, for autonomous republic, you had right for a college. For Soviet Socialist Republic, university, and Academy of Sciences, and Central Committee of Communist Party. For autonomous oblast, you could have Raikom, so the local authorities of Communist Party, etc. They were different from one region to another region. The key, I would say, and most important for what we're talking about was that all these names, all these regions were ethnicized. The names of these regions were names of ethnic groups. They were kind of ethnic domains of ethnic groups, because Belarusians or Ukrainians or Armenians or Georgians, they are not just population of this or that region. They are a cultural group with language, with culture, with religion, etc. So the price for preserving of empire was ethnization of administrative units. All these were for, even, by the way, that just one, but very strange type of autonomous region, which was Ajaria. Ajaria was autonomous region of religious group. You don't have ethnic group Ajarians. Ajarians are Georgians by culture, by language, by everything, but Muslims. So you had an autonomous region for Muslim Georgians in the country where religion was not recognized. So ethnization of all this brings to the situation when the official ideology was that we don't have, ethnic groups does matter. We all are equal. We all are Soviet citizens. We all are Soviet. But in reality, you know that if you are Abkhaz and you live in, I don't know, outside Abkhazia, you have your motherland, which was called by the name of your nation. If you are Armenian and live in Moscow or in St. Petersburg or in Tbilisi or in Baku, you have Armenia, which was named by the name of your nation, and you have your language there, education in Armenia. In your language, you have all formal statuses of the state. So with borders, with capitals, with ethnic names, all this were formal. In reality, states will not exist. Authorities really were in Moscow. It was a contamination of Communist Party authorities, state authorities, KGB, etc. So all real decision-making was coming from Moscow. But formally, you had a map, for example, at the wall in every class of school In Armenia, you had map of Armenian Soviet Socialist Republic with the borders as a state. It was like that. It was impossible to agree or not agree with this composition. Who were not agree in early communist time, they killed them. In Stalin time, they killed them. After Stalin, you had some people who were, for example, for independence of their nations or for changing of composition of these unities in Soviet Union. They usually were in prisons. They were dissidents. It was not official. It was not recognized. That's it. This is your states, and this is your borders. Sometimes it was very strange because it's not usually that the nation which had its own republic were majority in that republic. For example, Kazakhs in 1970s, they were about 30% of Kazakh of Kazakh Republic, Soviet Socialist Republic. Abkhazians in Abkhazia in late 80s were just 17% of population. 17. They had Khanty-Mansi Okrug or district. Khanty and Mansi, they are two ethnic groups. It's the northern part of Russia. They were 0.5% of population of that okrug. But it was called Khanty-Mansi National or Ethnic District. They had Jewish autonomy and still have in Russia. Jews never lived there. It is in Siberia, in the Far East, on the border with China, etc. So sometimes it was very strange. I don't have time to explain you. It is extremely interesting. Every simple republic, the history of its establishing and how and why it was like that. It is interesting, but still, we don't have time for that. They were formal. In reality, passport was the same, I said you, and when you moved from one republic to another republic, sometimes you didn't know about that. The real border was not exist. You cross this formal border and you don't know, are you in Armenia or yet, or in Azerbaijan already. Then you can see it from the place, from the names in language. You have Azeri instead of Armenian or vice versa. But real states will not exist. Till I'm coming to the end, till the beginning of collapse of Soviet Union. Because when Soviet Union collapsed, it collapsed by these borders. International community recognized Soviet Socialist republics, but didn't recognize autonomous republics, these all okrugs, districts, etc. Can you imagine? So, independence of Azerbaijan, population by Azerbaijanis from Soviet authorities from Moscow is normative and legal by law. But in Azerbaijan, you have autonomy, Nagorno-Karabakh Republic now, that time it was oblast or region, which was Armenian, populated by Armenians, up to 74% of population of this republic were ethnically Armenians. So you have a region populated by Armenians, which is part of Azerbaijan and the Soviet Socialist Republic. And they say, you know, you're not going to be independent. It's just for Soviet Socialist republics. And you live in that region, you majority are Armenians. And in several kilometers, you have Armenia as a state. And you say, guys, but I want to be part not of this, but of that, because this is my nation. You did it by some reasons, by Mr. Stalin in 20s. What the hell I have to do with that? So I want to be part of that. If you had ethnicization of politics and politicization of ethnicity, you have projects, which is Azerbaijani project, Armenian project, Georgian project, I don't know, Abkhazian project. You have overlapping because Armenian project could be wider than the territory of Armenia by some reasons, historical reasons. This or that was part of my country. Ethnic reasons, this is populated by my nation. Even names reasons, we call this Abkhazia, so it's ours, we are Abkhaz, etc. So immediately after the beginning of the process of collapsing of Soviet Union, you could see the problems with borders, problems with regions, which could be part of this region or that region which is part of one republic, but populated by another nation, another people speaking another language, another religion, another. So you have a situation when if you build something, if you build your identity, you're not just ethnic, but already political identity, on the ethnic background, which were brought to the reality by all 70 years of Soviet Union, you would have problems. It is not very unique. When you have this situation coming to modernity, I mean with not postmodern, modernity, with ethnic backgrounds, ethnic states, states populated by a nation. You have such kind of problems everywhere. Alsace and Lotharings between France and Germany. Sudets in Czechoslovakia, the Czech Republic. Yugoslavia with all these problems between different nations of Yugoslavia, etc., etc., etc. In terms of European history, in terms of Western European history, we, for example, here in Caucasus, we live in, I would say, late 18th, early 19th century collapse of empires and establishing of nation states. In terms of Central European history of the place where you are sitting now, we are in early 20th century, collapse of empires and establishing of nation states with minorities, sometimes conflict, ethnic cleansing, etc., etc., etc. We have it everywhere. Now, actually, we have in former Soviet territory, we have 4 non-recognized or partly recognized states, which are Transnistria, Russian-speaking region in Moldova. I say Russian-speaking because not necessarily that they would be Russian. They have Moldovan population as well and Ukrainian population as well, but they are not Romanian speakers, but Russian speakers. Abkhazia and South Ossetia break down regions of Georgia, these non-recognized states, and you have Nagorno-Karabakh Republic. I said you, 2 of these states are recognized by Russia, 2 not. all these states still have problems with their with countries they officially by international law are part of that. So with Georgia, Abkhazia and South Ossetians with Georgians, Transnistrians with Moldovans, and Nagorno-Karabakh with Azerbaijanis. I don't think that we will be able to resolve these conflicts in coming maybe decades, maybe generations. It's not so easy. Because in the last 30 years, you have states, formatted states, with constitutions, with control on territory, with economies, with police, with elections, with presidents, with everything. And you have population of these states who grown up in this with their elites in their new states. People who are up to, let's say, 30, 35 in Nagorno-Karabakh, they never seen Azerbaijani, which is not the case. Sometimes it's very interesting. In such kind of regions, elder people can be less radical than younger people, because for younger people from younger generation in Karabakh, Azerbaijani is something from TV or from I don't know, paper. They never seen, they cannot go there. Usually when they say me, but Azerbaijan is your neighbor. My answer is usually no, it's just formally. I can take a ticket, not now because nobody flies, but normally I can take a ticket and fly to Austria tomorrow, just to have some money in your pocket and visa. I can go to New Zealand. I can go to Australia. To Argentina, for example, I can't even go without visa because for Armenians it's visa free. I cannot go to Azerbaijan just because I'm Armenian. We have conflict with them. The same for Georgian and Abkhazia. You cannot go to Abkhazia, etc. So I don't think that it is easy to resolve such kind of conflict, as it's not easy to resolve conflict around Taiwan, Western Sahara, I don't know, Northern Cyprus, etc., etc. We have a lot of such kind of problems. Do we have some possibilities? Yes. Yes. We have examples when non-recognized countries were recognized. Bangladesh was recognized after 1971 war, and there it was part of Pakistan. Now it's independent states recognized by everybody. Eritrea was recognized by Ethiopia as well in 1993. Kosovo, more and more it became recognized states. About functional state, we'll see. They are building their state identity, etc., but it is recognized. Yugoslavian republics, Eastern Timor. So you have such kind of examples. But usually it's not very easy. Sometimes you need generations for that. You need just to move from 18th century to 21st. This is a goal. I would finish with an example. I was many times in Strasbourg. And you know, when you walk there, I don't speak French and I don't speak German, so I speak English there. When you move from one place to another, you can buy, I don't know, a water in Germany and a glass for this one, plastic glass in France. and you wouldn't know about that because you don't have border. The currency is the same, euro. The language you speak English and they speak same language, really. Some people in French part, they speak Alsace, which is a dialect of German. You just don't know. It's okay. For people there, it's okay as well. Maybe they have some problems, I'm sure. But generally, walking there, it's not a problem for you at all. But can you imagine that the same me or you or somebody would go to the same place 100 years ago and try to explain to people living there that borders are not important, it's not very important, are you member of, are you French or German, European Union is a good thing, and currency should be common. At least they will say, are you crazy guy? But they did it. So de-ethnization, Europeanization, rationalization of political identities, ethnicities, etc., can bring to resolving of such kind of conflicts. Just you need to change not borders, people. Maybe tomorrow they will establish a solution for this conflict, which you even cannot imagine now, as people in Strasbourg in 18th century couldn't imagine European Union, Euro, and such kind of things. But they did it afterwards. So the way to resolution of this conflict is not, I don't know, relationships between Russians and Westerners or I don't know, China or Iran or whoever. Way is moving to modernity, changing of societies, and that time they will, when they will go out of the zero-sum game psychology, maybe these conflicts would resolve way we cannot even imagine now. Thank you very much.